All right, so part two on this real estate. I just got done watching a Realtor.com video on the housing updates. Look, you may or may not remember, but back in 2006 and 7, the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, their chief economist was it Zandy? I don't think it was Zandy, but Zandy has never been right. Mark Zandy from Moody's Analytics. If that guy says go left, definitely go right. That guy says go up, it definitely go down. But anyway, I don't think it was him. But the chief economist from NAR was touting the home price, and it was all fake, smoke and mirror stuff. And they since let him go, as rightly they should. But I just don't trust the realtors, economists at all. So I subscribed, I quickly unsubscribed. I said, I don't know if I trust these guys. Look, I'm a curious, and I'm also not just curious, but I'm also skeptical. All right, so but I was watching them, and they were basically saying New York City, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, San Bernardino Valley and stuff have this huge demand in homes. And that may or may not be true. Presumably it's true. So the demand month to month has gone up. And the way they're stating it, I think is incredibly misleading. A huge increase in demand. They didn't state it exactly like that, but you get the gist. Like, whoa, there's a big increase in demand month to month. All right. The point about that is, anytime you're off a low, any increase is going to look big. And even with the GDP. I mean, hell, we're negative GDP. So anytime there's an increase off a bottom, it's going to look like it's freaking party time. Well, it's only party time because you're looking at it from the last month or last quarter last year, which was bottomed out. So in of itself, there's more to this equation than just, oh man, look at the increase in demand on real estate in New York. You got to look at the potential or the actual realization of this current supply. Remember, anything there's a product. Price is driven off two things, supply and demand. It's literally that simple. So just because you have a jump in demand would insinuate there'll be a jump in price, because more demand means higher prices. But you're missing the other part of that equation, which is the supply, the amount of supply. Is there a bigger supply than what the last month was? And if so, does that increase in supply outweigh the increase in demand? And if it does, then the prices will be down. Frustrating to me that they didn't state that. And I was watching my man meet Kevin, and I was like, I was looking for more info on what's out there, because he has a better nose to the market than I do. But I didn't get a whole lot out of that guy's video. I like Meet Kevin's videos. I watch them routinely. I wouldn't say every day. But that video right there didn't answer my question. At least I didn't watch the whole thing. Maybe it will. But anyway, so the issue is, all right, so going back to an article I read just right now on Seeking Alpha, the guy was saying that in San Francisco, there's a huge supply of homes like we hadn't seen since the 2009 bubble kaput. And that's what I'm concerned with in major metropolitan markets, including my own, actually. But New York, San Francisco, the big cities that have done nothing when it comes to dealing with, the terrorists masquerading as anti-racists, and never mind the governors and mayors inviting people to their death with their mismanagement of the dealings of the commie virus. Looking at you, de Blasio, Pelosi, Cuomo, half Whitmer. All right, so we go and we say, okay, if the demand has gone up a little, let's say a third, we'll just use that for example, but the supply has gone up in San Francisco, I think he said like 95% or something like that, you're gonna have a pretty significant fall in price. Again, demand's one part of the equation, supply is the other part of the equation. And if demand goes down and supply goes up, prices go down. If demand stays flat, supply goes up, prices go down. If demand goes up by a third and supply goes up by 2/3, prices go down. And I have a sneaky suspicion that demand, while going up a little bit, is going to be dwarfed by increasing supply, especially in these big metropolitan areas. And because of that, you could easily see a price decline. A pretty significant proportions too, by the way. Simply because, these prices are in, the stratosphere to begin with. So what does that mean? Well, I'm telling you, man, I'll be watching the supply of your homes. What the guy said on Seeking Alpha, which is pretty interesting, he says a lot of homes are being listed through private showing only, not even having a street sign in front of their house. So the old days of looking down the road and seeing all these houses on the market with street signs, those days might not be there anymore because a lot of people don't want their neighbors to know. And actually it's interesting because 2 houses down, they sold about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, no sign out there at all. Until it actually sold, then the realtor put the sign that said sold, because that's free advertising for the realtor. We did not know. Pretty interesting, huh? I mean, we knew, Charlotte and I, because we keep our eye on our local market. But anyway, it's interesting. So if supply is going to go increasing in Boston, I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, you name it, because people trying to get the hell out of Dodge. Will the demand follow suit? I don't think so. I absolutely don't think so. And I absolutely could be wrong. And notice it has nothing to do necessarily with interest rates, by the way. It's simple economics, supply and demand. So we shall see. But it has nothing to do with interest rates. Interest rates will create some demand simply because people say, I can afford 400 where before I can only afford 300 because the interest rates have dropped. Or vice versa. I can't afford 400, I can only afford 300 because interest rates have dropped. And so when that happens, people could be pulling their offers. They'll even be pulling out of the demand side of the equation, which of course would be, again, the less demand means the decline in prices. My shattered, cloudy crystal ball says I think that some of these big metropolitan areas are going to see a significant decline in prices. I could absolutely be wrong. We shall see. And the reason I say it is because at some point the demand will fizzle and the supply will increase. And that's why I've been watching Minneapolis. I had a realtor from Minneapolis really get on me on the video I did a few weeks ago. He said, I'm not doing my fiduciary duty. I said, there's a video looking at Minneapolis markets. Pipe down, Piper. But it'd be interesting to see what kind of chaos that Powderhorn Park is going through, given that Minneapolis has yet to crack down on the vagrants, the squatters who've taken over that park. City of Minneapolis is trying to pass a resolution, and they might have already done it, that says squatters can only have 20 tents per park in these 19 designated parks in Minneapolis. Well, I can tell you what right now, if that's one of the 19 designated parks that are across the street from you, you're going to be wanting to skedaddle and move into a place that hasn't been designated as a squatter's rights park. I mean, this is so fundamentally ludicrous, it boggles the mind. But yet, hey, you vote for these people in, face the consequences, suckers. And if you are of the right persuasion, and literally the right, I mean the right, which is, hey, people have a right to live and protect their property without having squatters and vandals and vagrants freaking shooting up across the street. You should never have been there to begin with. You should have always known what the left does. The left makes things worse. They look for equality, which means everybody is equally miserable, except the leaders, the Bill de Blasios, the Barack Obamas. All these guys are living large. Well, the vast majority, and this is what happens all the time at socialistic. Look at Fidel Castro. Look at Hugo Chavez's daughter. They're crazy. So the leaders of the left make out like bandits. It's the people like you and I who are made equal in our misery. Just ask anyone who lived in a socialist regime. They'll tell you that. So be careful out there, my friends. Because if your house is your primary source of wealth, as mine is, you might want to think twice about waiting to put it on the market if you are inclined to leave anyway. My man Scott just put his on the market and sold it that same day, I think. He set up for asking price in North Georgia. So that tells me, anecdotally of course, that there is a demand for real estate in North Georgia, for a home that people can live in, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Not sure if that's anything more than just one piece of evidence, anecdotal, but it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. So if you're inclined to sell your house in the next couple of years to downsize, I'd be keeping your eyes and ears on this big time. I don't know exactly what you can do. That's the worst thing about real estate. It's not a liquid asset. You can't just offload it like a stock. But man, maybe think twice about doing anything big to it. If it looks like the freaking, the Marxists are coming, you don't want to spend that money into it. You're not going to get it back. Lastly, we're putting a pool in. You know, I talked about this the other day about lumber, watching, what's his name over there, Uneducated Economist, saying he's never seen the price spike so much. I don't know what to make of that. That could be a one-off, could be a sign of something significant. I don't know, but I do know that these pool guys are crazy busy. People putting the fences like this right here. Crazy busy. Crazy. If you want to get a pool right now, they're not even calling you back. They're so busy. Which is kind of funny because I think a lot of people were thinking that with the virus, the pool guys would be sitting on their shovels as opposed to moving dirt, and they could wait and get a deal at 20% discount. It's the exact opposite. Thankfully, we were able to lock in. We had budgeted for our pool, and I've never had a pool, but we had budgeted to pay for this, going back to the beginning of the year. Thankfully, we were able to lock that in March, essentially, to get on the calendar and get it done. Because now the price is much higher, and you're gonna have to wait longer because the demand is through the roof. And that's just interesting. I don't know if it's just affluent people in the upper affluent suburbs, I don't know. But a lot of people are saying, I don't want to go to the public pool, because our public pool, you had to wait in line, dude, to get in because of social distancing. You couldn't have like more than 10 kids in the pool at one time, which is freaking stupid. And then they had to maintain social distance. I mean, the whole thing is just freaking nuts. So who wants to deal with that? You just say, screw that. I'm just going in to buy my own. I would just go out back. And so that's what we're doing. It's almost done. And when it's done, I'll show y'all. I mean, if you're doing a pool, as people have told us, don't shirk it. Make sure you spend up. Because this is, you don't want to do it half-ass. You want to do it right. Because you don't want to, we've had enough number of people tell us, man, they wish they would have done this. So just keep that in the back of your mind, my friends. If you're going to go the route of buying a pool, getting one installed, A, it's not a cheap proposition. B, you might as well pay up for it. Because it's not cheap, and you don't want to look back and say, oh man, I wish you would have done it differently. All right, love to hear your thoughts. We'll see ya.